The Ministry of Textiles, as a cultural institution, because it has handlooms and crafts under it, decided to change the definition of handlooms. Okay? Now, they are tampering with a value, and according to them, the way to enhance this value was to attach a motor to the loom, okay, which we then discovered from weavers who contacted us saying, what's going on here? So months were spent trying to understand from the government of India, hand loom, hand. So if you go on peddling a 5 horsepower motor onto the hand loom, you're converting the hand loom into a power loom. Okay? Now, their perception of value was, supposedly, we are enhancing the livelihood of these poor starving weavers. So if they produce more, they will earn more. The market, which is the beneficiaries, for example, in the design industry said, this is the world's greatest fabric. If you fool around with what that hand can do, which only India can deliver, you've lost the market. You have then devalued this cultural product to a power loom product. Now, the problem in dealing with the government of India was, I don't know whether this is the right example or not, was the no consensus on what the value of this heritage was. And to try and convince this ministry, which is supposed to be responsible for the welfare of the weaver, the beneficiary, all of this was couched in terms that our hearts are bleeding for this poor weaver. Well, the weavers were saying, get these bloody machines out of here. We don't want to touch them. There's no power in the village anyway, so what's going to run that bloody machine? And if you can give us power, give us an electric bulb so that we can see what we're doing at night. Okay? But get this damn thing out of here because you're killing us. Right? Now there, I think, was an example where there was complete chaos on value.
Where Ashoke had left off.
Yeah.
The government controls much of the heritage that we talk about, yes? In terms of museums, in terms of archaeological sites, and many of the initiatives in the creative sector. The problem with which most of us have faced is that in the ministry, people change very quickly. Sorry, Venu, I'm just going to... in 3 years, 3 secretaries, this sort of thing. So, the cognitive hurdle, explaining to each person again, this is the value of water. The political hurdle, never once has any Prime Minister or Minister of Culture spoken for our sector, ever, on a public forum saying, this is our national objective, is to help the artisan, to help the artist, to save our heritage. Nobody. Mrs. Gandhi made half a sentence about Save the Tiger and we're still talking about it 25 years later because nothing was done. That political hurdle, hugely important. Motivational hurdle, I mean, they will do everything to prevent you from doing something. Every possible hurdle that can be put. If you go looking for a grant, I'm only talking about experiences that people have come to us with. Give us a grant to run a festival, to hold a workshop for craftsmen. Give us this 25 years experience, you're a president, what was your grandfather's name? It just goes on and on and on. Resource hurdle. There is money. We know that there is money. There are very good schemes. The thing is, if we need to do this strategic planning, we need to first address government agencies on how to bring this public value to the fore, to appreciate it, to understand it, to give that political motivation to save it. If there's any group of professionals that we need to address first, I think it's this group.
I think it's important to note, Raghu, that in this room, while there's a very high level of passion about wanting to do something about arts management, it's also carrying a very high level of frustration from past experience. We simply can't deny this. And that frustration has come from many realities. They're not imagined frustrations. They've come from very frustrating experiences. So, while it is extremely important for us to have a conceptual framework that is helpful in our work, we can't ignore the fact that there are many forces acting against it as well. So I think this is a point to flag, and it's extremely important for our own strategic thinking. I'd just like to be helpful in saying that an extremely important part of strategy, the concept of strategy in management, is being able to have a realistic assessment of the environment. If you don't do environment scanning, if you are not aware of the realities of environment, and if you can't predict the environment, it's not strategy, it's wishful thinking. The concept of strategy has embedded in it a grip on the environment. So that's the reason I think that idea becomes extremely important for our thinking about strategy in this sector, in any sector for that matter. Right? Okay, we really need to move forward. May I make a practical suggestion? Please note your additional comments and questions. It's not to be ignored. My gut feel is that it's going to be connected to what I'm going to present. So it might be a good idea to return to your comments and questions at the end of what I want to share with you. It might make it easier. Is that okay?
When you're talking about environment scanning, you are actually saying that if I scan the environment and I see X number of hurdles, then I need to work a way around it. Sometimes especially in the area of arts, especially in the area of, as Ashoke Chatterjee was pointing out, especially in the area of handlooms or handicrafts, you do need to actually change the environment to begin with. Yeah, but the frustrations that you're talking about are not the same as needing to change the environment.
There's no doubt about that. All I'm trying to say is coming to grips with the environment is an essential ingredient of strategy. Otherwise, it's wishful thinking. Now, the extent to which you can actually influence the environment is a matter to be looked at. And that will depend on sector to sector, product to product, and so on.